get the nitty-gritty on Santa Monica's 21st century transport makeover from a man who's quite a sustainability mover and shaker and describes himself on Twitter as a happy warrior. Please welcome our city manager, Rick Cole.
Good afternoon. I cannot tell you how delighted I am to have this great turnout for Climate Santa Monica's annual forum. It is the particular hubris or chutzpah of this community to believe that a town of 93,000 people can exercise global leadership. And we can, and we are, and we will. So I want to talk about how we can provide some of that leadership with what the City Council describes as a new model of mobility. I think it's significant that we have 5 of the 7 City Council members here today. Mayor Vasquez is getting ready for a party he's throwing because he's about to be mayor of the city on December 8th. We have our mayor, Mayor McEwen, we have Council Member Winter, we have Council Member Davis, Council Member Himmelrich, and of course we just heard from Council Member Pam O'Connor. So we are united as a community in taking a look at the potential not to move the needle ourselves, but to inspire others by local action, by what Pam just called not only top-down, but clearly there's an opportunity for the people of this planet to do bottom-up, and that's what we're about in Santa Monica. So if I can figure out how to advance the slides. So this is kind of the contrast today between Houston, the city built around the automobile, that continues to widen freeways, that continues to sprawl outward, and Amsterdam, right, the Portland of Europe. And if you listen to some of the climate deniers and some of the critics more locally, both here in Santa Monica and Los Angeles, what well-intentioned policymakers want to do is to confiscate everyone's car keys, make them live in high-rise buildings, force them to wear Mao suits, and forbid them from doing anything besides riding bikes. And that sort of chimera, that fear-mongering, is not the choice we face. In fact, we have a different way of solving these challenges, a practical way, a realistic way, a way that is going to succeed. So, right now, the choice has been binary. Basically, for my lifetime, growing up here in Southern California, you either got from your door to where you were going by car, or you were forced to take the bus. And the bus was slow, often not pleasant and comfortable. You got to stand next to a stick that basically said, "Losers, stand here." There was a stigma attached to people who were too young, or too old, or too poor, or disabled to have access to the automobile. And the automobile was what we built Los Angeles around. We built it over the last 50 years since we scrapped the red cars around the car. And we created a 2-class system. Those who had automobility and those who didn't. And we are now beginning to overcome that legacy of a 2-class system in which everyone will have opportunities to go where they want to go and not to have to wait 4 hours to get to the public health clinic. Not to have to take 3 or 4 buses to get to their work. Not to have to change buses over and over again to get to school for young people, young immigrants and others who want to go to college. There's an opportunity now to change that paradigm for a more just, equitable, and sustainable Southern California, beginning right here in Santa Monica. And so this is all about real choice. This is not about one or the other. This is about a multitude of choices that we're going to be offering to people in Southern California, again, starting right here. Expo Line is less than 6 months away from operating full-time. We as a county, and all of these dollars are local, there's not a dime of federal money in this, we put up $1.5 billion, and we put up with 5 years of construction. We have made a huge public investment in the future. And this is a game changer. Why? Because today there are 82 miles of rail in Los Angeles County. 37 miles are under construction. But here's the difference. When it was 82 miles, there was this line and there was that line, and if you want to go from here to there, and you were lucky that here was on a line and there was at the end of the line, you were okay. But with the addition of these 37 miles, we now have the beginning of a system that will get you pretty close to almost everywhere, right? We're still pretty close, and it's still almost everywhere, but we are on the way to a comprehensive system like great cities all have. And we'll be seeing 9,000 to 10,000 people getting off and getting on Expo every single day right here in our own city. And it's going to connect us up to this system that's going to carry us anywhere we want to go. So what have we been doing to get ready for this? Ultimately, it is about creating a city not built around cars, but built around people. For 5,000 years, the great cities of the world were built to the human scale. And although because of modern health and modern food, we're maybe 6 inches taller than our ancestors, we haven't grown to be 4,000 pounds of metal in a suburban assault vehicle. And so it's time we begin to build our cities around us, the people who live here. So between the end of the line in the downtown station and our iconic pier that draws 8 million visitors a year, we're creating really the showcase, which will be the most significant new major public investment of this kind since the promenade in the 1980s, for which Denny Zane and so many others in this room can take credit. And that's the Esplanade. The Colorado Esplanade will take people, whether they want to walk, whether they want to drive, whether they want to take a taxi, whether they want to take Uber, whether they want to bike, whether they want to skateboard. If they want to go on all fours, it's going to be a pleasant journey, those 4 blocks. And all throughout the downtown and the neighborhoods of Santa Monica, we're beginning to transform the streets into complete streets, into green streets, with greenery, with bike lanes, with visible crossings for pedestrians, making safe routes to schools, safe routes to shopping, safe routes to dining, safe, convenient, and beautiful ways to get around in our own community and to connect up with transit options. And we are incredibly lucky. This city of 93,000 people is the hub of a transit system that carries 17 million passengers a year, taking 17 million cars off the road in Los Angeles County. Isn't that remarkable? But it's not, as if any of you went on the bus that's parked outside, this is not your grandfather's bus company. This is a bus company on the cutting edge of change. The Big Blue Bus is now a symbol of a safe, affordable, convenient, and comfortable way to get around. We still have our challenges with traffic and on-time performance. But now you know when the bus is coming, because you can pull out your smartphone and it will tell you, or you can see increasingly as we install on every bus stop the real-time performance, so you know when that bus is coming, and you don't have to leave until you know the bus is going to be there. And as Cynthia just talked about, the bike share program is the first in the region, right? 10 million people live in Los Angeles County. What 93,000 people get the first shot at bike share? We do. This is one time where it's good to be part of the 1%. I guess from their standpoint, it's always good to be part of that 1%, but we have a little different attitude here in Santa Monica. We've expanded our bike network to 105 miles in our tiny little city. And with the new pedestrian action plan, we're going to be taking specific concrete steps in every neighborhood to make it safer and more attractive to walk. That is ultimately the first mile and last mile challenge for transit. It has always been, okay, the transit ride may be great, but how do you get to transit and how do you get back from transit? Because once people get in their car to drive to a park and ride, they almost always say, well, what the heck, let's keep going. Now you will, for the first time, have the opportunity to not just be car-free when you are walking in our downtown, but really you'll be able to live a car-free lifestyle if that is your choice. We're going to make that choice available finally after 50 years of building cities around cars. So there are lots of new private market entries into this field of getting around. We all know Uber and Lyft. We've just signed a contract with Zipcar for that time when you've got to go to IKEA, for that time when you've got to go pick up something you can't bring home on your bike, can't bring home in a taxi or on Uber. Go out and get a car, and it's yours. It'll be convenient. You can see that on your cell phone. You can find it. It'll be close and convenient and affordable. We are not giving up on helping to address traffic. Traffic is a huge problem in the west side of Los Angeles and beyond. And so we're using the very most automated systems throughout the network of our signals citywide to manage traffic. And that means less idling, and that means less pollution, and that means less greenhouse gases. There are all kinds of new and exciting opportunities here in the Silicon Beach of entrepreneurs who are figuring out new ways for you to have real-time knowledge. These are tools that put you in charge. There will be a day, not very long from now, when you'll be able to take your smartphone out and you'll say, I want to go pick a destination. Mayor, what's a good destination somewhere in Los Angeles? Go to West Hollywood. You'll be able to pick up your phone and say, Siri, I want to go to West Hollywood. And there will be a list of the most affordable way to get to West Hollywood. The quickest way to get to West Hollywood. And the way to get to West Hollywood with the lowest carbon footprint. And the way to get there with the most healthy exercise. And you'll be able to pick. And you'll be able to mix and match. You'll be able to say, well, I want to get some exercise, but I need to get there in less than an hour. You'll be able to do that. We are this close to that. And just beyond that horizon are autonomous vehicles, which will almost entirely eliminate the need for parking, for the need to devote nearly 40% of our land area to streets and to parking lots and to auto repair shops and to new car dealers. It will revolutionize the way we live, and it's just on the horizon. So ultimately, all of these choices are about safety, about convenience, about affordability, and about comfort. These are basics. We are going to make all of these alternative ways of getting around safer, more convenient, more affordable, and more comfortable than relying on the car, which unfortunately today is stuck in traffic. And once you get where you're going, you can't find a place to park. We're going to be able to make it possible for people to get around in an entirely new way. It is possible. We are on that road today, and we are going to get there. Already, we can track in real time how people are moving in alternate ways, how they are moving by bike and on pedestrian, because they're carrying around. And you know, when you put that thing out that says I accept on Facebook or I accept on these things, that's why we know where you are. That's a whole other issue that we won't get into at this forum. But we now know that people are moving around our city in all kinds of ways. Just in the last couple of years, bikes have doubled in their share of usage. Isn't that amazing? In just a couple of years, and this is about to go like this. It's a hockey stick phenomena. With the more bikes you have, the more people feel safe, the more drivers are alert to it, the more we have a critical mass, or as our bike supporters here call it, critical mass, to emphasize the young people. And we have to connect the dots. This is not just about transportation and mobility. This is about who we are. This is about sustainability. That's why we're talking about transportation all day today in the context of global climate action. It is about sustainability not just from an environmental standpoint, but from the third E of sustainability: the economy, the environment, and equity. We're beginning to overcome transportation apartheid, the way in which people who didn't have enough money, or who were too young, or who were too old, or who were disabled, were marginalized in our society. Just as the Americans for Americans with Disabilities Act changed the way we built our cities to make them open to people with disabilities, this new model of mobility is going to open up opportunities for education, for employment, for recreation, for freedom to people who have been stuck without cars. They are going to now have real choices that are safe and convenient and affordable and comfortable. This ultimately is the message that Santa Monica is sending the world. When I was growing up on Earth Day 1970 and we planted a tree at my high school, we thought that cities were the problem. Cities were urban sprawl. Cities were big and dirty and polluting. They were a cancer on nature. We've learned a lot since that first Earth Day. We understand that people who live in cities pollute less, use less energy, are more creative. In fact, cities are where the energy is coming to fight global climate change. In individual cities, people like us are filling churches and filling high school auditoriums, and they're marching and they're taking action and they're doing petitions and they're doing leaflets and they're changing the way they do business. This is happening all over the world. Where? In cities. Cities are now the human habitat. For the first time in human history, more people live in cities than live on the farm. America passed that milestone in 1920. We are an urban nation. And now the world is going through that same transformation. People are crowding into cities that look like ours did 100 years ago. They are dirty. They are polluted. They are overcrowded. They are full of slums. And so they look like a problem. Just as Chicago or the Hell's Kitchen in New York looked like a problem 100 years ago. But with democracy, with people battling for their rights, with economic justice, with progressive policies, look what our cities have become. Look at the way in which cities today in America are on the comeback trail. Look at the way in which people are voting with their feet and with their dollars to reinvest in our great urban areas. Cities are not the problem. Cities are the solution. And cities are where the human habitat is going to be. And so we have to make cities beautiful. We have to make them just. We have to make them environmentally sustainable, because that's where people live. By the billions. 3.5 billion of us now live in cities. So what do we do next right here? First of all, we've got to do real planning. Climate change is real. We are going to have to adapt to the changes. It is, after all, a week before Thanksgiving, and we are sweltering in this heat. We are going to have to engage all kinds of new partners in the community, in the business world, the private sector. We're going to have to mobilize all of the nonprofit sector. We are going to move forward to actually, you're going to see physical change. Before the Expo comes, not only is the Esplanade going to open and Main Street is going to tie into 2nd Street, We are also going to put in 11 of these scramble intersections. They just put a new one in at Hollywood and Highland. I was involved 20 years ago for the first one in Pasadena. It simply stops all traffic and lets pedestrians have the intersection. It's more efficient, it means less idling time for cars, and it's way safer for the pedestrian. And we're going to create new tools. The council committed $500,000. We've challenged Metro to match us with $500,000 just to get the word out about these possibilities, about bike share, about the new technological tools, about next bus. You can track when the buses are coming. We need to get the word out, but you can do that, and you are doing that. You can be the one to spread the word to your neighbors, the people you work with, to the people who are part of the organizations you belong to. This is not just about safety, convenience, and comfort. This is also about the future of our planet. We can take action, not symbolic action. It's great to plant a tree, and we should plant more of them. But 40% of global greenhouse gases come from the transportation sector. And we just can't plant enough trees to offset that impact unless we change the way we move around. We are changing the way we move around. Santa Monica is leading. Now it is up to us. Now we can set the standard. And people will be coming, as they do, to Amsterdam. And they'll say, these people have something going. When I go home, I'm going to take it with me. And we all know the famous motto of Margaret Sanger, who said, never doubt that a small group of committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, they are the only ones who ever have. I am proud to be with a growing group of committed citizens. We are going to change the world, starting in our own hometown. Thank you very much.